Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for our next Learn Live. Integrate custom tools into your agent. My name's Anna. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our moderators to answer. Our session is being recorded. It will be available to view on demand right here on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our presenters today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Anna, for the introduction. I am Bethany Jepchumba. I work at Microsoft as a cloud advocate, and I'll be one of your speakers. We have Shada joining us. Shada, you can introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I am a Shanta Core Microsoft Core Student and Student Ambassador. Also, I am a Microsoft technical writer and I'm happy to share I have published 15 plus blogs on the official Microsoft Tech community. So I'm happy to with you all and with questions. Over to you, Bethany.
Thank you so much, Shada. Shada is a Gold Student Ambassador, and we'll be doing this session today together. It's a Learn Live session, meaning you can find all the resources, all the tools we'll be using in a Learn module called Integrate Custom Tools to Your Agent. And what you're doing today is going through the Learn module, taking you through what exactly are custom tools and why do you need to use them. And this session is interactive. We have moderators on our chat. We have Goni from Bangladesh, Gulam from Pakistan, and Mohammed also from Pakistan. They will be our moderators for today. So if you have any questions for them, if you're confused in the middle of the session, feel free to ask any question and they'll be happy to help. And to wrap up the introduction, this is part of the Microsoft AI Skills Fest. So if you haven't heard about it, it's a initiative to just skill up. And last week, it was announced we actually won the Guinness World Record because of this challenge, and we were able to emerge winners in our attempt. The challenge continues. It doesn't end just because we won, because learning is continuous. So if you want to join the skill fest, it ends at the end of May. You can copy the link aka.ms/AI skills fest, participate and continue learning. For today's session, what we are covering is first an introduction to help you understand what exactly are custom tools, and then why should you even be interested in them. And once you know what they are and why you should be using them, we'll go into what are the options for you to implement custom tools in your application and how you can be able to integrate them in your agents. And finally, because it's a hands-on session, it's a learn session, we'll have a hands-on exercise at the end to show you a simple implementation of a custom tool in Azure, using Azure AI and Azure AI Agent Service. And then at the end, to conclude, we'll have a knowledge check because I normally say I love teaching. So by virtue of that, I'm a teacher. So we have to test and see, did we even grasp what we learned? And then at the end, we'll do a summary and call it a day. So to do the introduction, I'll pass it over. Oh, yes, I'll pass it over to Shada to tell us what exactly is Azure AI Agent Service.
So thanks, Bethany. Hi everyone, I am Ashalta. I'm super excited to be with you today as we explore how to develop your AI agent using custom tools. So let's begin with a quick overview of the Azure AI Agent Service. This service make easy to create your own intelligent agent. No PhD in AI required. You can start with just a prompt and enhance it with the tools that bring up powerful capabilities like uh, API, functions, and many more. Out of the box, if we talk about you get building tools that tackle a common task, but what makes this service shine? is the ability to create your own custom tools, like calling an API to check your order status or automating responses using your business data, and think of it giving your agent superpower just in your use case. And the best part is it all integrates smoothly with your existing system.
Shada, can you hear us? Okay, so let me continue a bit and then Shada will pick up once her audio is fixed. So as Shada mentioned, using the Azure AI Agent Service, you can be able to integrate agents into your application without the extensive knowledge of AI and machine learning. And sometimes you might not be able to have all the tools available, right? So if you want to build your own agent, your own tooling, you might need to implement additional tools. And that's where build the custom tools come in. And an example of a custom tool is, for example, if you're working in a customer support and you need an agent to go through your FAQ and be able to help customers when they reach out. Instead of customers coming in, flooding the chat and being able to flood the support system, having to hire a multiple set of support just to have those FAQs answered, you can have an agent that handles the common questions and then free up your team. Okay, so the next thing is this is an introduction to custom. The next thing is why exactly should you even think of implementing these custom tools? An example, a reason why you should be thinking of implementing the custom tools is one, you can be able to automate repetitive tasks that are tailored to your organization. So if you have some tasks that you know every day you'll keep repeating them over and over again, you can be able to use custom tools. The other thing is for precision and accuracy. As I mentioned, if you're building an FAQ tool, the questions might be the same. So you want to always have the same answers repeatedly. And if you have 10 people doing that every other day, 10 people coming in doing the same repetitive task, it might get boring and prone to human error. So instead of that, if the questions are the same, it's very easy to just implement an FAQ agent and have that deal with the questions. And then the last bit is, as I mentioned, you can be able to tailor your solution to your specific need. So you don't necessarily need to rely on the current tools available, which is like the code interpreter, but you can be able to now build your own custom tools. An example is when probably you have a custom tool implemented, is a scenario where a user asks for a specific information, probably about the weather. And what the agent will do, it will go in and try and see of the tools that you have available. Probably you implemented a very interesting and particular weather tool to the region that the person is coming from. So instead of looping in and trying to come up with a new tool, the agent will try and see, okay, which location is that specific snowfall in, and it will select the tool that will give it the weather response and execute the task. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Shada to give us more scenarios around, okay, where else can we have the custom tools implemented?
Thanks, Bethany. So let's start with a classic use case: customer support. Imagine a scenario when a customer messages your agent asking, "Where is my order?" or "Can I get a refund?" So now, out of the box, the agent does not Let's start with the classic use of customer support. Imagine a scenario when a customer messages your agent asking, "Where is my order? Can I get a refund?" Now, out of the box, the agent does not know that, but with the custom tool, it connects with your CRM system. The agent can fetch the customer order history, provide the tracking updates, or even process a refund automatically. This drastically reduce the load on your support team and improve the satisfaction because people get answer instantly without waiting for a human. It, waiting for a human. So, let me please change the slide. So the next one is inventory management, a huge win for retail or a supply chain. Let's say your AI agent is helping a warehouse manager. You build a custom tool that connect it with your inventory system. Now agent can it can do a three task, four tasks. The first one is a it check your real time stock levels, and the second one is a it predict when an item is likely to be go and out of stock using a historical trends and even trigger automatically reordering from a supplier. This means the better stock control, fewer delays, and the less manual data checking. Plus point is that the business runs smoother with a fewer stockouts or over orders. So this inventory management help to do the better in your inventory management and manage your business, which runs smoother with a fewer stockouts or over orders. Technically. So let's move into the healthcare appointment scheduling. So what exactly in it is? It includes the 3 points. First one is integration with the AI agent, and second one is the access to the patient records and improve patient experience. So appointment scheduling is often a headache for both patient and clinics, but by the integrating an AI agent, a customer scheduling tool, clinics can now automate the experience. The AI agent can access the patient record securely, recommend available time slot based on the medical needs, and even send the reminder to reduce the no-shows. For the patient, it is a very seamless experience, and for provider, it reduces the admin efforts and make a scheduling way more efficient.
The other use case is in IT. I know who work from barely interact with the IT department, but you can't always be your own IT person, right? Especially when it comes to the complex nuances in terms of like what the organization policies are. If you need a new laptop, how do you navigate that? So you can create a custom agent for your IT department to integrate with like ticketing and any knowledge-based system. So it has an idea of, okay, this person has this laptop, let's say a Lenovo or a MacBook. This is how long they've had it. Probably it's time to have them renew their laptop. Or in case there's any technical issue, there's always a technical issue because their machines at some point they'll come and break down or have just an issue. So you can be able to automate your ticketing system instead of someone always being there asking, okay, what exactly should the solution be? You can literally have a ticketing system where an agent deals with collecting the information and trying to see if they can resolve. If not, then it goes to an agent. This helps speeding up the resolution in terms of in case anything breaks down, it speeds up, reduces downtime. And sometimes we're in different time zones. Sometimes the IT team might be in India or might be in Kenya or even US. So you might not be able to get that resolution faster. But using an AI agent, you can be able to have a faster time resolution. The other bit is in education and training. And I love this because it specifically tailors your own learning, right? Because as much as we don't want to use AI to give us the answers, we want to use AI to help us understand what should we be learning, at what stage should we be learning this, and also be able to track and see, okay, this is what we've learned. Probably we need to move to the next level. Or this person has been stuck in this level for a while. Probably we need to check and see if there's anything we can help. And then the best bit is around revision. If you've done your certification of Azure before, you know you need all the help revising. So you can use AI to help you curate the questions and have a revising buddy, right? Instead of, because at most of the time you're probably the only one doing the certification at point. So it's easier to have an AI agent come in, help you revise the questions, create questions and answers, and help you ace your certification. Okay, so we'll talk about how now you can be able to implement the tools. You've seen the different use cases, you've seen why it's important to have the custom tools. So over to you, Shada. What are the different ways we can be able to have these custom tools implemented using Azure AI services?
Now, let's diving into the different way you can bring your own tool into the agent experience. There are three main options, and each has its own strength depending on your scenario. So, first up is a open API specified tool. This these allow you to agent to interact with any API describing in open AI format. It is a great for automating API call at scale, like a fetching weather data and data or the stock information. And plus, it make integration consistent and scalable. So the first point is the importance of an open API. Open API is a specification standardize how an API describing, making them easier to understand and the use for the integration. And the second one is the automated API integration. These tools provided automatic connection with between the Azure and the agent and external APIs, enhancing the functionality also and efficiency. And the third one is the scalability of integration. Using an open API tool enables scalable API integration that can grow alongside your application need and capabilities. So, first up is a open API specified tool. These allow your agent to interact with any API describing in the open API format. It is a great for automating API at a scale like a fetching weather data or a stock information. Plus, it make integration customer and scalable. Next one is a function calling. This is a perfect when you want to write and use your own logic like a Python function that calculates something or trigger a workflow. You register that a function and the agent can call it and with the right parameters. And finally, it is a Azure function. These and finally, it is a Azure function, and these are ideal for the building event-driven application. For instance, you could have a great queue trigger Azure functions that process the customer's port. It is a lightweight, scalable, and integrates seamlessly. Whether you are working with an API logic function or event place flows, you can have flexibility to use what fits best you. And in Azure function, there are 3 points. First one is a event driven application, and the second one is a trigger and execution, and the last one is a binding for data handling. And the first one is Azure event driven application. In that, Azure function allow the development of intelligent agent that respond to the event with the minimum setup and the overhead. And the second one is a trigger that define when an Azure function execute, enabling automated responses based on the specified event or a condition. And the last one is the binding streamline connection to the data source, allowing seamless input output managed by the Azure function.
To be able to
So over to you.
integrate to be able to integrate these tools, I was muted. To be able to integrate these custom tools, you first need to define what exactly are you using the custom tool for, probably the scenario that you want to use it for, and then have it integrated either using Azure functions or OpenAPI functions, or even function calling. When you're using function calling, this allows you to now execute predefined functions dynamically based on the user has inputted. It's normally ideal where the agent needs to perform very specific tasks. So if you need to retrieve data or process user queries, it can be very useful. And the idea behind this is the function goes in and calls out any APIs that are needed to initiate the program. An example of how it works is first, this is, for example, you're trying to track snowfall. And the idea is you've been able to declare the function that is, this is the function to detect any snowfall in a given location. And then you can be able to define the user functions. So we only have one function here, the recent snowfall. But if you have multiple functions, you can be able to have them defined there. And the idea is it looks at, we have mock data. So for example, we have Seattle and Denver. It can be able to guess, okay, this is the amount of snow in Seattle and Denver. When someone asks the question, it now goes in, tries and see, okay, which location is it in, and returns a JSON file. That's an example of the function when you're defining it. And once you define it, you can add it to your toolset, and you can add it to your functions toolset, and then call it through an agent using a model, have the name of the functions, and then try and see if you can be able to add it into your application. The other option is using OpenAPI defined tools. So this helps you to interact with external APIs using different specifications, and it's very simplified because it's compatible with different services. And Azure AI Agent Service normally uses the OpenAI 3.0 specified tools. It's technically the same scenario where you're trying to register, where you're trying to register the Snowfall API, trying to see if that's something that you can be able to call. And then once it's defined, the specification is defined, you can go in there and call it in your application. So you can see same thing. You have the Snowfall OpenAPI JSON file, and you're able to load it and try and call it in your application. So this is how you implement it. This is how you implement it in your application. The last one is using Azure Functions. And when you're using Azure Functions, as Shada has mentioned, you can use triggers, you can use events, and this is when you're using a queue trigger. So you want it to be triggered in a specific function. So what you're trying to see is whenever a new message is added, you can be able to trigger the application and run as intended. So this is you being able to set up the application. So you have the storage endpoint, you have the function tool, you can be able to see the name, the description, the different parameters, and then the queue, which is the input, and then the storage service endpoint, and then the output queue, which is the output and the storage service endpoint. And you can be able to now add it to your agent, and once it's triggered, it runs, and you can be able to get up and running. So the next bit is an exercise. What we'll be doing is we're trying to implement using functions. And the exercise, let me go back to the link. The exercise is when you go through the Learn module, you'll find the exercise module. So this is the exercise module. And it has 4 main steps. First, we'll create our application using, we'll create our project using Azure AI Foundry project, and then we'll deploy a generative AI model because we're building an AI agent, so we'll need the model deployed. And then the last step will be to develop an agent that uses function tool. So we'll go into our shell commands, develop the agent, and then try and see if we can be able to create a ticket. So if any person has an issue, how can we be able to create a ticket for them and add in as a text file? Okay, so the first step is to create an Azure AI Foundry project. And what we do is we go to ai.azure.com. And in ai.azure.com, you can be able to see I already have a project. So I technically don't need to create one, but if you're new and you don't have a project, you can be able to create a new project, right? I'm trying to zoom in. Yes, I confuse the keys, control and command. Okay, so when you come here, the first thing you'll see is create a project. If you're yet to have a project, you can give it a name. For example, I can call it custom tools, and then the name of the project. I can create in an already existing hub or create a new hub, and then go in and create. You don't need to check the customizations. If you want to customize, yes, you can go ahead and customize. But for now, we're not technically customizing anything. So once you create your project, the next step will be the project is created. It will take a while. So I'll just go to my already created project. And once you create the project, we want to deploy a model because we need part of our AI agent is the AI. So we'll need an AI model. And how we do that is, let me expand this. We go to my assets and then models and endpoints. And the models and endpoints will deploy a model. How you can deploy a model is just come here, click deploy base model, and select the model you want to use. So let's say I want to use GPT-4o mini. GPT-4o mini. You can as well search. You don't have to like scroll down like me. So I'll confirm and deploy. And for this resource, what you'll need to do is you need to ensure you have the maximum, either the maximum number of TPM, that's tokens per limit. You either make sure you have the maximum or at least 50,000. So if I settle at 50,000, that's okay. Yeah, okay, 50,000. My maximum is 5 million, which is probably not the case for most of you. But if you have about 100 to between 50 to 100, you're good to go. So you can go in and deploy your model. That will be now the second step, right? And then the third step will be once you've deployed a model, we'll need to head over to Azure AI portal. So let me start from here. Yes. You'll need to head over to Azure AI portal. So the link is portal.azure.com. And in this link, what you need to do is okay. Let me create a new page and then come back. It's just created my emails. So when you go to portal.azure.com, it will notify you to log in. And once you log in, let me log in. Once you log in, you can be able to, yes, I guess I'm now logged in. I hope so. Once you log in, the one thing we'll be using is the terminal. So is shell. So we're using PowerShell to be able to create our project. And when you click on this, it will create the PowerShell for you. It can either be Bash or PowerShell, but then we want to be able to use the classic version. So you'll need to switch back to the classic version of shell. And then you'll follow the instructions. All the instructions are here. So we're in step 3. So we are now switched to PowerShell. So we're now going to clone our repository. So all the instructions will be here. I won't write step by step all the code. So the first step will be once you've been able to reach your shell, the first step will be to clone the repository. So we're cloning the repository where our demo is. So I've created a new agents directory, and then I've cloned the file and it's in a new directory. Once it's created, the second thing is I'll move to today's project, which is about creating a ticketing system. So we're going to the file, which is the Azure AI functions file, agent functions file in Python. And then the next step will be, as any Python project, we'll need to install the required details that we need, the required libraries, the required classes that we need. So how we'll do that is, first we'll create a virtual environment. I'm not good with Linux, so I don't even know all the commands, but this is a command of creating a virtual environment, Python venv technically it's the same everywhere, I'm guessing. The only difference will be if you're trying to, okay, there's something wrong. Okay, let me repeat it again. So we're creating a virtual environment, and then the only difference, this is the same in all cases. The only difference will be when you're activating your virtual environment. And when you're using a Linux, this is how you activate it. Technically PowerShell, this is how you activate your PowerShell environment. And then the thing is, we'll need to install basically 3 different things. We'll need to install the python.env to be able to read our keys and endpoints. And then we'll also need to install the Azure identity so that you can be able to log in and authenticate. And then since you're using Azure AI projects, we'll also need to install the Azure AI projects. So we'll have that installed. And then the last bit will be in the setup section will be now to update our .env. I won't do it directly here, but the idea is once you've installed everything, you'll need to come in here and update your Azure AI Agent project connection string and your model deployment name. So as you've seen, we've deployed GPT 4.0 mini, so that's the model you're deploying. And then you've also seen your project string. So this is something you might not be aware where it is. So I'll have to zoom out to show you. So this is where your project connection string is. So when you land into Azure AI Foundry, the first page, you'll see the project connection string. So you copy that and you add it to your .env environment. Okay. So once that is done, I'll go to my already pre-provisioned side. Let me quit this. Once that is done, the next thing is now to update our files. So the files we are updating, let me show you the files that we're updating. The first one is our functions file. So, okay, I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, let me try and zoom out. Yes, probably zooming out was the reason. So the first file we need is our user functions file. So that's the first file we're updating. And what we're updating here is we'll first create a function to submit a support ticket. This is how it will look like. Interesting. Okay, seems like my previous one is down. So we'll just continue from here. So the first thing is we'll need to create a function to submit our support ticket. And how the function will look like is, so our function will look like this, where the first thing we're doing is just adding in our function and the path. And what we're doing is we're trying to create a ticket number. So anytime a user submits a problem, we can be able to have them create a file and submit a user number. And then the next bit is we add in the callable functions. So this is a tool we're adding. So it can have multiple functions. It can have one. So this one is basically to just submit a support ticket. We can have other multiple create other multiple functions to do something different. So probably you wanted to assign a support ticket to someone. You can also add that as a new function. You can add in probably a knowledge source. So in case you want it to go in and pick up the user history, you can also add that as a function. So this is how we define the callable functions. So I'll come in and save the file. The next file we are updating is the agents.py file. And in the agent.py file, we're doing a lot of things. So the first thing is we're adding the libraries and the files that we need. So for the libraries and files, as I mentioned, we're using Azure Identity. So we'll need to add Azure Identity. We'll need to add, let me remove, yes. Okay, for a while. So we'll need to add Azure Identity, we'll need to add the projects, we'll need to add the models that we're using, and then we're also importing our user functions, right? And then once that is added, the next thing we'll need to do is add in a connection to the Azure AI Foundry project. So we'll need to have it connected to our project, and we're using a connection string to do the connection. I don't know why it blurs the code. So we're using the AI project connection string that we added in our .env. So that's where load.env is coming from, the library we imported, and where we're getting our connection string. The next thing is we've been able to connect to our project, right? So what exactly does our project do? So we will connect it with a custom function. And for our custom function, what we will do is we'll add it to the toolset. So we have the user functions already added. We'll already imported up here. So what we are doing is adding it to the toolset and then giving it an instruction of how it's supposed to behave and do. So it's we're giving it the name, the support agent. What it's supposed to do is when a user has any technical issue, they're supposed to get the email address and any description of the issue. And once you get that, you're supposed to now submit it and get an output from there, right? And what it does is it will continue looping. The conversation will continue until the user types quit. And I was pretty sure it will end, but then it's still continuing here. So I hope for this new project it will end. And then once you've been able to define what exactly is supposed to happen when a user when a user asks a question or passes a message, we then add in a new information around the message. So this is when a message is when a user sends in a message, this is how it will do. What happens is it creates a thread. This now ensures we have the history in place until the user says, okay, I'm done with the conversation, we can move on. So we add in a thread. And then in case of any errors, arise, we add in something to do with error handling, right? So in case there's a fail, if any issue arises, return with the run failed and this is the error. This will help a lot when it comes to debugging. And then we also want to be able to see the different messages. So in case a user sends in a message and we want to be able to track what the user said and everything, we can add in a second segment saying, okay, once the thread is done, share with us a list of messages that were sent in order of how they were sent. And then if you need the conversation history, when a user quits, you can print the conversation log. So when a user says, okay, I'm done with the conversation, you can print the conversation history, and then the user can be able to see, okay, probably this is okay, my email is spelled correctly, everything's good, yeah, I can log off. Or they might be like, oh, that error there's an error made, we need to correct it. and they can come back and correct the issue. And then the last step is cleaning up. So we'll need to ensure once the agent is done, once the task is done, we clean up the task and delete the thread. This ensures that it does not consume any unintended resources, and yeah, the conversation just ended, so there's no need to retain it. So once you're done with this, you'll click Control S to save, and then as you've seen, I have yet to, I've clicked Control S. You click Command S or Control S, depending on what you're using. And then once you've been able to do this, the next step will be to log in into your Azure account. So you can do AZ login. This will authenticate you into your Azure account, and you can do this mainly if you are not in your account. So I'll have to log off this page to log in, and then the last bit I'll need to also update the .env file to be able to now reflect my project string and anything that I'm missing. So I'll remove this screen for a while to have that updated. 1 second. So yeah, so I'll update this. And in the meantime, in case there's any questions, I don't know, maybe you can take a question or two from the chat. Someone is asking, I don't know. The questions are so many. Let me see if there's one that we can be able to answer. Someone is saying, I prefer to use Azure Foundry. You can deploy. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to deploy everything as I've done using the project. You can use a bicep file. Everything will still work. Yeah. And then there's another question. PowerShell is not intelligent enough to detect your Azure login. You don't necessarily need to log in again. You can still stick with it, but it's in case to get any error, that's when you will need to log in again. So I'm just doing it in case of caution, so that we ensure, yeah, we are cautious, right? We ensure in case there's an error, yeah, we have it fixed. So someone is asking about .NET. Currently, the example is in Python only, so you might not get a .NET example, but I'm pretty sure it's coming up. So pretty soon we'll have examples in other languages. Yeah. So someone is also asking, is the AI service good enough to understand the user? What's the question? Powerful enough to understand the database schema. So most of the time you will need to integrate your database with having it as a vector database to have it easier for the LLM to understand. It might struggle with a regular database. So the best idea is to use a vector database. So I'm finalizing on adding my keys. Okay. So I think I'm done. So let me go back to the code. I've logged in, I've updated my code base. Let me zoom in. And then for now, once you've been able to have everything authenticated, the next bit will be to run. The next thing will be to run our code. Let me see. I don't know what's happening. Command, yeah. So to run our code, I'll use Python and run the file agent.py. Fingers crossed, my code is good. Indent error. Okay, so unexpected. That is in the agent.py file. So let me debug. No. Let me see. So it's telling me there's an unexpected indent project client. This one, yeah, true. So let me save and then try again. Cancel. And then I try again. Let me try run the code again. So yeah, it's supposed to tell me you're chatting with an agent. So this is our chat. So I can just say hello. And the idea is it will come back and ask me what exactly is the problem I'm facing. And it should also tell me to give them an email address and a description of the issue. So I'll just use a Contoso email address. My email is contoso.com, and then my laptop is overdue for replacement. Probably that's an issue that I have with my laptop. And then what it will do is it will call the function and create the file, that the ticket file, right? So once I'm good, yeah. So last messages I've submitted a support ticket for you regarding the laptop replacement, and this is where the ticket file has been saved. So I'm good with it. I'll just do a quit. It gives me the conversation log, gives me what exactly I asked for. And as I mentioned, it's good so that you can be able to check and see in case you need to fix any error that you've submitted. Probably my email has been spelled wrong or something of that sort. And if I'm good with it, I can try and see. You can see we have the ticket file. So let's see what the content of the ticket file is. So ticket number is 7B605 c.txt, and you can be able to see, yes, it has the details of this is the support ticket, this was the person who submitted it, and this is the description of the support ticket. And that's it about the exercise. You can try it at home and tell me if you're able to successfully try it out and see it in action. You can tell me if it's working. So I'll hand it over back to Shada to do the knowledge check. Yeah.
Yeah, before we wrap up, let's do a quick knowledge check to make sure that we are all aligned. I will throw out you some few questions and you can drop your answers in the chat. So let's start with the first question. Yes. What is the key advantages of using custom tools in your Azure AI agent services? Option A is they provide standardized, automatic, and scalable integration. Option B, they eliminate the need for any human intervention. And option C, they guarantee 100% accuracy. And yes, the correct and I'm just getting a post and getting a response from you in the chat. So please respond, answer in the chat.
Everyone is saying the answer is A. All the answers are A. I don't know if that's the right answer. Or there's someone who said the answer is B. Yeah, at least one person goes against the grain. Okay. Who else? Yeah, everyone is just saying A, A. All the answers are just A. Yeah. You can tell us what the answer is.
Yes, and yes, the correct answer is option A. Custom tool help you agent interact with the external system reliably and at a scale. But remember, no AI is a perfect, and yet so option B and option C are a bit overstretched. So we got a more questions in the chat. Please feel free to ask question in the chat box. We will happy to answer your question. So now it's a great time to ask the question. We also have a live moderators, and we will take a couple of time here to solve your questions and reply your questions, answers, give you answers. Yeah.
I'm not seeing any questions. Maybe go into summary, and then once you get the questions, you can answer before you close.
Yes.
Okay, so to summarize what we've discussed today, the first thing was around custom tools, how they're important, and why we'll need to implement custom tools. The first thing we mentioned was around having a tailored solution for yourself, and then the integration of using Azure functions, Azure functions using function calling, and also the Open API specified tools. All these are the benefits of custom tools. One, it's you can standardize all your integrations. Two, you can automate the different benefits you need to have automated. Three, you can scale your resources. And four, you can predict accurately your you can have accurate predictions in your applications. And I'm seeing a lot more questions have come today. So there's a question around how you can be able to deploy. So everything we've used is in Azure AI Foundry. You can easily have everything deployed in Azure AI Foundry. It offers you an end-to-end connection from, okay, when you go to Azure AI Foundry, you'll find everything end to end. So from being able to go in there, select your models, you can go in and play around with the different AI services. There's some templates you can use, and then you can be able to trace and debug. And once you're done, you can be able to deploy your application in either a web app, or you can take your application to code, and there's some templates available for you. So if you're new and you just want to build a solution and get it deployed, these are some of the examples you can be able to use to deploy your solutions. All this is found in Azure AI Foundry. And then, can AI agents consume images rather than prompts or along with prompts? So as you know, different language models have different capabilities. So if you go to like the model catalog, you'll find models with different capabilities, some with reasoning capabilities, others can be able to come in. I'm trying to look at the tasks they can do. Yes, others do text to speech, others do translation. So depending, an agent is dependent on the model. So depending on what your model can do, yes, you can be able to implement image-based model. And then I'll answer the last question and then we'll wrap up. How accurate is string classification using Azure AI Foundry? So you want to map similar description into a specific category. So I'm guessing for this you'll use something like AI search or a different service. And yes, it's very accurate if you want to be able to implement it. So our Azure agents multimodal, it depends with the model that you're using. And that's it for today's session. So if you want to go in and affirm your, I'm guessing this is not valid anymore because you've won the Guinness World Records. But yeah, you can still go in there and share what you've done, share your milestone, and also showcase your skills. We have this running, as I mentioned, all the way till the end of the month, May 28th. So if you're interested to continue learning, you can do so using the link aka.ms/AI skills first. Everyone is asking about the code. Everything is in the link to today's Learn module. So today's Learn module is around integrating, building AI agents with custom tools. When you go to the Learn module, the link is already provided. It's basically the pinned link. So if you go to the Learn module, come to the exercise, you'll find the repository right there. So anything you need, you'll find in the Learn module. But other than that, thank you so much for joining us. Continue hacking, continue learning, and yeah, see you next time. Bye.